Given the discussion that we've had throughout the course of our presidential campaign about Russia, it seems like the more pertinent question is, after the U.S. presidential election, is it time to re-engage with Russia?
Russia is an authoritarian country. I don't think we should have any illusions about that. At the same time, I don't think we should have any illusions that the United States deals very regularly with a number of other authoritarian countries. We find a way to deal with those governments because we believe that the United States has important interests at stake, and we don't have another choice.
So in an interconnected world, we need to engage Russia, and we need to keep in mind a proper balance between cooperation and competition.
How many more neighbors does Putin have to invade? How many more Ukrainians and Syrians have to be killed? How much worse does the crackdown inside Russia have to get before we say enough, before those who would advocate for a re-engagement strategy would realize that that would not only be futile, but possibly dangerous?
This pattern clearly shows us that Russia is not a trustworthy partner. And many administrations, both Republican and Democratic, have tried to engage with Russia and they have failed.
The Russians were instrumental in our ability to get to Kabul and overthrow the Taliban and Al-Qaeda in a short period of time that we did.
Putin's number one interest is staying in power. His second interest is staying in power. And his third interest is, guess what? Staying in power.
The problem is that we ourselves created this gray zone because we declared at the NATO summit in 2008 that Ukraine and Georgia would become members of NATO.
Nobody is strong-arming these countries into joining NATO or even the EU. They feel threatened by Russia and they seek to join these institutions because they feel threatened and they feel that their security is at risk.
The Russians have told us for the past 25 years, Ukraine is a red line for them. They would react. They reacted. We weren't prepared to deal with that reaction.
He wants to destabilize Ukraine so that Ukraine is unattractive and unappealing to the West, so that we lose interest and Ukraine is an unstable place, which, by the way, is not in Russia's interest to have a destabilized Ukraine on its border.
Russia intervened in Syria to protect its national interests, the way they saw those national interests, and protect a regime that they've had long-standing relationships with.
Until Putin changes his behavior, and the track record is very long of bad behavior, there are no bright prospects between the U.S. and Russia.
I'm very concerned about the breakdown in military-to-military communication, the impact that could have in a crisis situation. I think that's where I'd like to start, so that if we get into a bad situation, we've got a channel to try to de-escalate before it gets worse.
I think we should ramp up sanctions. I think we should have sanctions related to what Russia has done in Syria specifically. There is no way forward if we start giving concessions. That's a slippery slope.
I think if there's one takeaway we can all come away from here, this is complicated and hard. Our next president, whoever he or she may be, is going to have to deal with this, and we certainly hope they do it the best way possible.